Now our next act, the only thing funnier than his comedy is his last name. Give it up for Cody Lindenberger!
Who's ready to laugh, guys? Tay asked me if I wanted to follow my very funny friend Tiffany. I said no. I want to go after the most depressingly tragic tale of real-life trauma you can find. Thank you for that. And thank you all for being here and supporting this amazing cause. Give yourselves a round of applause. This is awesome. You all came out here. I'd also like to thank the Kansas City Chiefs for being 6-6 this year. They're doing their part. I feel like a lot of you wouldn't be here if they were 9-3, let's be honest. You'd be watching the game right now. Guys, my name is Cody Lindenberger. I'm a comedian. That's why I'm up here talking into a microphone. That's how that works. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 8 years. I've been comfortable telling people I'm a comedian for 4 of those years. The first 3 and the last 1. New comedians have so much more confidence than they should have. Just go to an open mic. You'll see what I'm talking about. I live in Lawrence, Kansas. Thank you. Yeah. You guys are familiar with Lawrence. You know Lawrence's reputation, right? It's a very liberal, progressive town. Yeah, I love doing shows near Lawrence because I know when I tell the audience that's where I choose to live, they just make assumptions about me as a person. You know, I go to Topeka and I'm like, hey guys, I'm Cody, I'm from Lawrence. And the whole audience is like, okay, this guy hates Columbus Day, you know? He's been to a lesbian wedding before. I have, they're amazing. When I do shows out of state, I can't say I'm from Lawrence because people in like Sioux Falls, South Dakota have never heard of it, so I don't really just say I'm from Kansas City like a lot of you. And then I always get this reaction. They always go, KC, huh? You must love that barbecue. And I want to get offended. I want to be like, oh, okay, you're going to stereotype me because I'm like a big guy, I got to love barbecue. But you guys, I fucking love barbecue. It's sugary fire meat. It's fantastic. I love all the barbecue places up here. I do feel, though, I think some of the people who open barbecue restaurants just do it for that sign they get to put up front. You know, that sign has some sort of like clumsy double entendre on it. So I said like, come on in. We're out back rubbing our meat. You're gonna love putting our sausage in your mouth. This brisket's gonna just fuck the shit out of you. That's too aggressive for a protein. I didn't grow up in Lawrence. I grew up in a very small town in the middle of Kansas. My hometown was so small, there was this cat named Sam who lived downtown, and he was our official town cat, and also our mayor for 3 years. Yeah. It was only supposed to be 1 year, but nobody wanted to run against him. Very popular pussycat. I grew up near Hutchinson, Kansas. Anyone here from Hutchinson? Yeah. It is funny, yeah. You escaped. Good for you. You got out. No, Hutch is okay. Hutch has some cool stuff. They have the state fair there every year. They have the National Junior College Basketball Tournament, which is something. My favorite thing about Hutchinson, they have this place called the Kansas Cosmosphere and Space Center. Thank you. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I was lucky enough when I was in high school and my first 2 years of college, I got to work there, which sounds kind of nerdy, because it is. But I learned a lot of cool facts about like space history, things that the general public doesn't know. For example, I learned that in 1986, after the Challenger disaster, after the Challenger space shuttle exploded, NASA actually changed their acronym. They changed it from National Aeronautics and Space Administration to Need Another 7 Astronauts. And this is just how I find out where the old people are. Anyone watch that in high school, huh? Show your hands. I told it to my aunt, she's like, Cody, you can't say that. I watched that happen in high school. And I was like, I know. But I watched 9/11 in high school, so I win, you know? You watch 7 people die? That's adorable. I love that for you. I watch 7 people die on Twitter every week. It does nothing to me. A fucking monster. No, I'm a good person, guys. I'm a good person. I am. I can prove it to you. Every winter, every time it snows, not only do I shovel my own driveway, I go and shovel the 2 driveways of the 2 oldest people in my neighborhood. Thank you. And then I go to the house of the 3rd oldest person and I watch as they shovel their own driveway. And I say, maybe next year. Carol's not looking too hot, you know? I do that. My neighbor Virgil, he moved to Lawrence from Las Vegas. He's in his 70s. He'd had a heart attack recently. So the first time it snowed, I went over and I shoveled his driveway for him. He came out and he's like, "You didn't have to do that." Which you guys don't know Virgil, but that's a spot-on impression. You didn't have to do that. And I said, "I know. I'm a good person." He goes, "Well, I got to get you something. What do you like to drink?" I told him I'm a bourbon man. The next day I come home, there's a brown paper bag in my driveway. I open it up. It's a bottle of Maker's Mark. Which, if you don't know, that's a top shelf liquor. That's a very nice gift. And that kind of became our tradition. Every time I shoveled his driveway, raked his leaves, mowed his yard, come home, bottle of Maker's Mark. Last weekend, it snowed. I went over, I shoveled the driveway. I come home, there's a brown paper bag, I open it up. It's a bottle of Jim Beam. What the fuck? Did I just get demoted? What? Guys, I used to work at a law firm, okay? And 6 years ago, the managing attorney called me into her office and told me that due to the economy, they were going to reduce my salary by $20,000 per year. And this bourbon thing hurt worse than that, okay? You gotta know your worth, right? Yes, I'm a lawyer. I graduated law school from KU Law back in 2009. That makes me a lawyer. There's nothing you can do about it. Whenever you tell people you're a lawyer, they always ask the same question. They always go, "What kind of lawyer are you?" Which is kind of weird. You don't ask that question of everyone. You know? I don't think anyone's ever been like, "Oh, wow. But wait, what kind of garbage do you collect?" Anyways, I tell people I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. That's what I do. I help people file for bankruptcy. I protect them from, debt collectors and scum lords and all the bad people in the world. But that doesn't tell you what kind of lawyer I am. Here's what kind of lawyer I am. 7 years ago, I went to work and I sat through 4 hours of appointments with potential clients, people who were considering paying our firm thousands of dollars to represent them in federal court, with dog shit in my shoe. In my shoe. I thought when I had 3 dogs, and that morning apparently one of them decided to crouch over Daddy's loafer and perform an act that would cost you 50 Deutschmark in Berlin. And I put my foot in there and off to work I went. At this point in the story, people often ask me, "Didn't you smell something?" Yes. I just assumed these people all smelled like dog shit. I was like, that's a weird coincidence. It was gross. Like, my sock kind of acted like a tea bag. Like the hard stuff stayed out, but the soft stuff got through. Like, you guys ever go to the beach and you wait for the tide to come in and you dig your toes into the sand? It was like that, but with dog shit. It was so gross, I almost threw those shoes away, and that's what kind of lawyer I am. So I was a lawyer until 2020, and then the pandemic hit. I got furloughed for 8 months, and then I got laid off because nobody needed to file for bankruptcy. And I looked for jobs, but they were all taken, so I started Ubering. I said, I'll do this for a few weeks, and a year and a half later, I was still doing it. I was nervous when I started Ubering. I thought the hardest part for me was going to be trying to make small talk with a bunch of drunk strangers all night. Turns out I'm great at that. It's essentially what I'm doing right now. Now, I discovered the hardest part about Uber driving for me is not farting in my car. For real, that's one of the 3 places in the world where I was comfortable doing that, and now I can't. And that was like my car, my bed, and every movie theater I've ever been in. They're too long. The movies are too long. I don't know. Ant-Man doesn't need to be 165 minutes, guys. Anyways, I've discovered when you Uber drive, there are 3 questions you get asked over and over again every night. Has it been busy tonight? How long have you been driving? And how many people have thrown up in your car? And I used to be able to say 0. But then it happened. I picked this couple up. They were in probably their late 40s. They were going from an apartment party in Lawrence to Lecompton, Kansas, which should have been an immediate red flag, yes. That is barely a town. They get into the car, and the husband has a very morose look on his face, which I assume is because he lives in Lecompton, Kansas. It's 4 dirt roads and a cemetery, guys. That's the whole town. No. We start driving, and his wife goes, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Am I a bad dad?" And she's like, "What?" He goes, "I'm not responsible. I don't take care of things. I drink too much. I'm just a bad old dad." At this point, his sister calls his wife to check on them and make sure he's not driving home because she knows him. And he goes, "I gotta talk to her." And he gets the phone and he puts it on speaker and he goes, "Am I a bad dad?" And his sister on the phone goes, "What? You're drunk. Just come home." And then he threw up on me. Over the headrest, big shot off the roof of the car. Like I just won a Kids' Choice Award, just vomit raining down on me like Andy Dufresne at the end of the Shawshank Redemption. I scream, "What the fuck?" He turns, looks at his wife, throws up on her too. She screams, "What the fuck?" The sister on the phone is screaming, "What the fuck?" We're in the middle of the woods. We pull over. He gets out of the car, continues to vomit, and his wife says to his sister, "I don't know where we are, but you have to come get us. He threw up on the driver again." My man's a repeat offender. And I turned and I said, "It's okay. I'll still drive you home. Because I'm a good person." Thank you. This joke's not even done yet. He gets back in the car. I roll all the windows down. I turn the radio off. I am furious. We drive in silence for 5 minutes. I hear this man behind me go, "Sir?" I said, "What?" "Am I a bad dad?" You guys are awesome. Give it up for Ted Castillo.